We got this big story from Breitbart. Bud Light marketing executive Daniel Blake on leave after Dylan Mulvaney ad campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 different marketing executives have been placed on leave by the company. You know what's really crazy? Instead of just saying, we're sorry, they just removed 2 people, which is a huge victory. I got to be honest. I'm happy to hear it, but they can't apologize?
They put out a patriotic ad, Tim. That was it.
They have apologized. What else do you
It was like
want?
the next day.
And then they sidestepped the entire apology.
I gotta give a shout out to John Oliver, who I think is as dumb as a box of rocks, but had a good joke. He was like, I think it was Oliver. He said the commercial was basically typing in America, freedom, patriot, sorry. And that's what would come out. And I'm like, that's actually pretty good. Like that's basically what they did. And they tried doing the 9/11 thing, like insult to injury. Apparently they had the Clydesdale commercial after 9/11 with the Bud or whatever. I don't remember that. I mean, but so that's what they did in this new one. The Clydesdale is running, and then it runs past New York, and it's like those who never forget. And it's just like, dude, you're not getting out of that by saying 9/11.
Please don't use a national day of mourning to get you out of this mess.
I mean, we've downplayed 9/11, so much. Might as well just throw it in the Bud Light ad.
Apparently so. It's what you need to do when you have to apologize to people you don't like. I will say, my only thing, I've said this before, is that both of these people are on leave. They are not actually fired. A lot of people view this as a step towards being fired, but I just think they'll put them in the background for a little while. They'll go to the Bahamas, they'll hang out, and then they'll come back. They are hoping to keep these people in place.
I think the first lady got fired for hiring Dylan Mulvaney, and the second guy got fired for that stupid horse commercial.
But they're not fired. They're on leave.
Well, okay, that's what I mean. I mean, removed.
I thought the first girl got fired.
No,
I only saw on leave.
They were both placed on leave.
Which is ambiguous. It means that when you guys are tired of being mad at us, we'll bring them back.
The other big news, though.
Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say the other big news that Dylan Mulvaney hasn't posted anything since the 7th.
That's interesting.
Right. Dylan was posting almost every day or every other day and just stopped posting when this whole thing kicked off. So I just want to say, I think Dylan Mulvaney is a person who doesn't have anyone who cares about them, and that deeply worries me. Anybody who is in Dylan Mulvaney's life would be saying, stop this.
Yep.
This is not acceptable. It's not okay. They're being driven by the TikTok algorithm into, look, Dylan Mulvaney came out in an interview and said, how come no one's messaging me to date? Clearly, the machine is pushing Dylan in a direction that regular people are not interested in, and the people who love and care about Dylan, or maybe there's nobody, are not doing anything to help Dylan with.
I mean, Mulvaney was even just interviewed in that article where, she was talking about.
I don't think Dylan Mulvaney is trans.
Yeah. That's what sorry, I don't know what we're allowed to say here. This isn't my YouTube channel, so I'm just trying to be extra safe here.
Well, let me just say it real quick so you can make your point. Dylan Mulvaney does not, in my view, I'm not a doctor, exhibit any of the traditional gender dysphoria or AGP or AAP, which is what is typically associated with transgenderism publicly. Dylan Mulvaney made a video singing about looking at his bulge, which is clearly the opposite of AGP or gender dysphoria. It seems like Dylan Mulvaney is just mocking trans people to get views because the algorithm keeps promoting it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think when you have a giant marketing firm that throws somebody like this out into the public eye, the public absolutely has the right to comment on it, and the public absolutely has the right to say what they think is despicable about it. That said, I do feel bad. I mean, I feel bad for him because this is someone who's clearly got something wrong with them. This is not normal, healthy behavior in general.
Well, I think I gotta say I half agree.
Okay.
But continue.
I'm not saying that there's no agency there. I'm saying someone has something wrong with them. And you made this point about no one being in their life who cares about them. I remember a long time ago, I had a friend who was watching some of these American Idol cringe compilations where someone who is really bad at singing is intentionally selected to be on the show so they can sing poorly and the audience can laugh.
That's how it works.
And what he said was, I don't think these people have anyone in their life who loves them. And that's essentially what we're seeing. They're not enough to give
not necessarily
the truth.
For the American Idol thing, and it's in so many other facets of life, there are people who they genuinely think their friend can sing. They're like, you're so good, you should go. Yeah, and then they go. And so I've had friends who've tried it for American Idol, and when they explained to me the process, they were like, oh, like all the bad singers you see, half the time they're not even in the room with the judges. What they'll do is they'll record the bad singers in front of a camera, and then they do a cut that makes it look like the judges are in the same room, but they're not. They're watching a video screen of it. So they're not actually saying, but sometimes they are. And that means that the producers go to the bad singer and say, we want you to sing in front of the judges. It's intentionally done. I think for Dylan Mulvaney, you said there's something wrong with him. I don't necessarily. I think it's total agency. I think what's wrong with Dylan is narcissistic personality disorder. I think everything that Dylan is doing is an active choice to pretend to be trans. And there's more evidence to suggest that Dylan is faking it. Ollie London has produced previous interviews and recordings showing that Dylan Mulvaney has lied about when he was transitioning. And other trans people have come out on YouTube videos saying Dylan is clearly not taking estrogen, despite saying on 2 different occasions that he had started taking it at 2 different times.
Yeah.
So not only does he contradict himself, but these other trans YouTubers have said it doesn't look like he's even taking estrogen at all based on his body.
It makes it even more bizarre to me because Dylan did undergo serious plastic surgery, right? Like it makes this.
I think that was
they've explained that. No. That's been explained too. Apparently, I don't know if this is true, but people have pointed out that Dylan did not get facial hair removal, just facial slimming, which is more easily reversed. Meaning, if Dylan ever decided just to go about living not as a woman or whatever, or doing this publicly, Dylan would very quickly look male again.
I mean, but what if this is over? Like this Bud Light or Budweiser thing came out as to mark 365 days of girlhood, right? This 1 year mark is when all of this happened. What if in another week, Dylan comes out and is like, I tried it, but you guys are so hateful. I'm just going to go live as a man. And you guys are bigoted and terrible.
But see, he can't at this point. The corporations are taking full advantage of him. And but
Tim, no one's going to want to touch him at this point.
Right. But Tim brought up the point that he hasn't posted in 3 weeks?
Since the 7th. So
it's been a while. Like you said, he was consistently posting. But what I view with this whole entire thing is, again, corporations taking advantage of mentally ill people. And I don't say that in, in a disparaging way. I'm not trying to be hateful here when I say that, but very clearly, if you are cross-dressing, if you think that this is how women behave, if you think that this is normal behavior in society, and a lot of people do because we've hyped it up instead of telling people the truth, which is why you have all of those viral clips of Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles when they do speak to transgender people, because they're very clearly telling them the truth, and the transgender community can never argue their points properly as to what it does feel like to be a woman. I can't even explain what it feels like to be a woman, and I am a woman because it's not a feeling. It's something that you're born with, right? You're either a man or a woman.
There's no reference point.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is just corporations taking full advantage of easily manipulated people. Tim, I was talking with you about the United Airlines transgender that was platformed, given all of the affirmation, put into an advertisement, and ended up offing themselves because of, I don't know, whatever pressure. And, I was actually in front of SCOTUS for the Trans Day of Vengeance that got canceled as well. I was speaking to a transgender woman who was basically saying, oh, yeah, I self-harm to get attention because I want to be visible. And that's why the trans community commits self-harm.
I think this is one of the big issues with what we're seeing with Dylan Mulvaney. First, that what I see in Dylan Mulvaney is narcissistic sociopathy, not gender dysphoria. When the people who are experiencing gender dysphoria, they're not doing what Dylan Mulvaney does, dancing around in the woods in high heels and singing "Look at My Bulge" over and over again, and keeping facial hair and other things like that.
Well, and
what's happening is these big tech platforms, like Jack Dorsey said all those years ago, were concerned about suicide rates. So they started offering up social media protections for these people, which was then quickly exploited by people who want fame and attention but don't want to get any penalties. So let me explain it this way. If you post right-wing memes on social media, let's say before Elon Musk bought Twitter, you were banned. Carpe Donktum was banned and broke no rules, but you don't post those memes. So how do you exploit human emotion for clicks and views and avoid getting banned? You do it from the left. The easiest path is exactly what Dylan Mulvaney is doing. The algorithm proves it. When you look at Dylan's earliest content, it was animals. It was Dylan on The Price is Right. And then when Dylan made a trans video, boom, that's when he started getting traffic, started getting fame, and he chased after it.
Well, remember the video too that came out where he was like, oh, I can't find any roles as I can't even remember what he said, but he was basically like, oh, my friend wrote a role for me as a more like trans feminine person. And, again, like he has been trying to adhere to this. He did find fame in this, and it does seem like he has stuck to this, and he is really, taken it as far as he can.
Yeah. I think the issue with that was that Dylan had previously said that they were trans, deleted the video, and then later, once again, came out as trans. Like the whole thing was staged as like it was a fake coming out.
I guess one thing I'll say about this is that I don't even like being exposed to this. The fact that kids are exposed to this is what bothers me.
That's TikTok
the most. Yeah.
So do we ban TikTok?
So the legislation that Republicans were pushing to ban TikTok, from what I understand, did some other things that we might not be in love with, but I think that there is a real question to explore there about banning TikTok. I would not be against it on principle, but you'd have to show me good legislation.
I'm for it. I really am for it. I think the legislation is how do we do it is the issue, but I think it is a good idea.
I think we should, but you would have to give me something that really banned it instead of lying to me. Yeah.
If we look at what TikTok really is, it's China subverting our country. Yes. That is what it is, point blank. Again, you guys have talked about this multiple times. What are the children in China targeted with on TikTok versus the children in the United States of America? It's like night and day. So it is the subversion of our country.
They don't actually have TikTok in China. They have something similar called something else. Mm-hmm. And it does...
But owned by the same company that owns TikTok, right? Like,
I'm not entirely sure. Maybe. Okay. I just know that
aren't all companies in China basically controlled by the CCP anyway? So it's
Well, that was why we got this wave between like November and January, this wave of like 25 governors who were like, you are not allowed to have TikTok on a state-owned device because part of the user agreement is that it can collect all this data, including whatever else you have on your computer, like your browsing data and things like that. So like if you are a government employee and you have some sort of like someone who works at the DMV, right? And they're pulling up whatever, and then they decide to watch TikTok on their computer, like they have now exposed your data to this company that has to report data to the CCP under a 2017 National Intelligence Law. Yeah. Like, I don't really think that we need this. And I know people say like, oh, free speech, things like that. Like, build a competitor, have something else. Like, I'm not saying you can't say the things that you say on TikTok. I just don't want that technology that is serving a different entity. It's not serving the people of the United States in the country.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.